it was hard. I found myself getting into, some situations and situation friendships with people that didn't care for me, but they cared for what I could offer, even if that was a listening ear, even if that, was just having somebody they could just, and this is just coming to me now. I was home to those folks. I was home. You know how you travel away, when you go off to college and whatever, and you travel away, you might travel to California, you from a little town in Kentucky, and whatever. But it doesn't matter what goes on in California, the fun that you're having, the pitfalls, the ups, the downs, whatever, you can always come back home, right? In some cases, some people can. So for me, in that space, I was home. And so when people went away or they came back, I was always there. I was always, still in place. It took some time to figure that out. But by the time I got to 30, I was still trying to figure myself out. I was still trying to, some things was clicking, but then I was still trying to gain friends and and then finally it's just like, you know what, I'm tired.
To be with you here today. I'm Melissa Crook, your host. I've got a friend that if you pay attention to our panels, you've heard her voice before, but she hasn't been on the podcast with us yet. She's got her own podcast, a couple of them actually, that she puts out in the world. And you're going to get to learn more about that as we unfold her story today. But Roshonda Blackmon is here with me, and she describes herself as peaceful, loving, fearless, inspiring, and an encourager. Roshonda, welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for the
absolutely. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Roshonda and I met, you guys, if you heard of the panel, you've heard the story, but we met as we were both participating in Podcast-thon. And Podcast-thon is that great event every spring that they do where it allows us to highlight those nonprofits that we want the world to know about. And so we got to be on a kind of get to know the other host Zoom. And Roshonda and I connected and was like, ooh, I like what you do. I want to know you more. I think that we could do some things together. And so we agreed to connect and did that later in the spring. And she's already been on a panel with me. And now she's here today on the podcast. And I hope to do more stuff with her moving forward because I love the way Roshonda shows up in the world, the energy that she gives, and the resource that she is for women and for herself. And so I'm excited to share your story with our listeners today. So you're in a busy time right now. So this is actually a great place to start. Talk to me about prioritizing self-care in your life and what that looks like for you and your journey with that, because we just talked about how you're kind of getting tugged on both sides on the busy meter right now, both on your work life and your personal life. So talk to me about where you find time to fill your cup.
Sometimes it's a little hard, but it's really reminding myself that self-care is not selfish, right? And I think a lot of times we don't remember that self-care. We think taking care of ourselves, that's selfish. We should be taking care of 1,000 people, the billions of people in the world. But when it comes to us, oh no, that shouldn't happen. It's just reminding yourself that self-care is not selfish. And I always use this analogy because I think it's so great. When you get on a flight and they're going over the safety things with you and they tell you, put the thing on the oxygen mask on yourself first, before you try to help somebody else. Now, if you're on that flight with kids, then you would think, I'm gonna put it on my kids first and then myself. But it just goes to show that we have to take care of ourselves first. We have to be first in order for us to show up for someone else. And so I think telling myself that the self-care is not selfish is one of the things that kind of drives me and kind of helps me to kind of slow down, hey, get some time off, to yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. And then I love this quote by Eleanor Brown. You cannot serve from an empty vessel.
Yeah.
You can't serve from an empty vessel. If your vessel is empty, it goes back to that oxygen mask. If you don't have anything, what am I supposed to give to you? I first have to be fulfilled. I first have to make sure that I'm good. Because if my vessel is filled and I'm full, then okay, I can flow over and give something to you, but I can't if, I'm struggling but I'm trying to see if you're okay, but I'm dying,
Yeah.
And so that's, but that's the thing for me.
Yeah. It's a great motivator because you don't want the people you love and that you're serving to get your scraps or to get the, what's barrel. You don't want to scrape from the bottom of the barrel. That's not your healthiest version of you. No one's winning in that scenario. So I think it's so important for women to come back to that as well. And you're a giver by nature. Like I told this story on the panel that the first time we met, you were such a soothing voice that I needed that day. I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am showing up with this woman and she's comforting me. And I'm supposed to be telling her about my platform and sharing and how can I support her and, what all these things. And so I talked about the fact that like, when you have that natural instinct, it's even more important for you to pay attention to the fact that like, time out. I know this is my natural inclination, but if I'm going to show up in this way that I know is authentic to me, I have to make sure I have something to give from.
Yes. And that is true. And it's crazy because we talked about this. It's been that way for me since I was 18 and probably even before that time. And I just didn't really, know what it was. Now it has a name, but it's, but then, it didn't have a name. I'm like, why are people, feeling comfortable? Like they can talk to me. And I've often had people to tell me, oh, girl, if it wasn't for you, girl, I feel so good after we done. And I'm like, I don't know anything I said or did, but okay, I just offered advice, in that moment. But and I don't mind that, as you said, but that can get a little sticky. That's almost like that thin line. Yeah, like I want to listen, but it's a two-edged sword because it's like, okay, I'm listening to you, but a lot of times I don't have nobody to listen to me. So
that's just it.
Yeah. I don't always get in return what I give out. And so what I do is I have to schedule things for my mind, my body, and my soul. For the mind is just scheduling a 5-minute brain break. Turning off the news. If that don't take you out, I don't know what
Absolutely
will. But turning off the news. Play a puzzle. I love this game called Luminosity that I don't know if people still play it, but it's kind of like a little brain buster. But I love I got this bird game that I'm trying to get the adjoining birds on it. It's mindless things, and I love word games and puzzles. So that kind of takes my mind off of things, or listening to guided meditation music, in which I absolutely love, with the little trickling water in the back. I actually got some of that on right now, so it helps, but for your body, and I'm working on this still, but it's blocking out time to walk. They say walking is the best exercise, and it is so true because it gives you an opportunity to kind of let go, not really think, but you're exercising. So you're moving your body, but you're also releasing your mind with just the stresses of the day and, and what's going on. So it's the walk, soaking up some vitamin D, doing a simple stretching routine, things like that, really helps. And of course, just so you carving out time for spiritual renewal. I'm a Christian, so my source is God, and I go to him for a lot of things. And I said this before. I'm sure he's probably like, close the door. If it's her coming, I'm going to put a picture up, please. No. But it's praying, it's journaling. I love to journal. And another thing that I love to do is cloud watch. And I know, have you ever stopped to really look at the clouds and really
I love that. Yeah, because I will tell you, sometimes when I'm driving, like if I'm on a long drive, like we've done a lot of cross country drives. And so sometimes I will, like, all of a sudden, and I remember when the kids were little, we did a lot of road trips in the car with the kids, and you could see, we would play a game where you could see the shapes and the different forms, or even, and my husband loves weather. Like he's a big weather, like junkie, like he loves, and so he can tell you like what's happening in the clouds. And if a storm, like he'll be in an airplane looking out the window, like, oh, that there's storms building there. I'm like, okay. But I mean, but there's a lot of like, also like settling to it and just curiosity. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Ain't nothing like it. I mean, it's like, it takes your mind. One of my favorite things that I is on my bucket list to do is to go into an open field. I'm talking about an open field and just lay there in the middle of the field and just look. It's so peaceful. But we have to think of things. What brings you peace? And that's what you have to go to. That brings me peace. Meditation brings me peace. Prayer, journaling brings me peace, and helping others. You see, I put that last.
Yeah. But you filled your cup though first. You fill your cup and then it feels edifying. If you haven't filled your cup, it feels draining. So that's a clue too. If this thing that you know is authentic to you is no longer edifying your soul, then that's a clue it's time to stop and take a rest.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to go through those points. And then you see what we put last, because like you said, you filled your cup with the things that, your brain is clear. Your body is good. It's not holding on to stress or anything like that. Your spirit is feeling renewed. So now, what can I do for you?
Yes. And just the whole, you're able to present the tone of voice, the body language, that says everything right there. I think that's so good. And you've really already addressed this within this conversation, but this is where that confidently setting boundaries come in, putting that time in your calendar for yourself, carving it out for you, because we put the things in our calendar that we value. And so it's so important to remember our value and how we want to show up in the world. That put it in the calendar so it doesn't get missed, and don't let it be the first thing that goes when there's a disruption in your calendar.
That's the number one key right there. Sticking to it. Like tomorrow I joined a meetup group, just so because I'm going to be honest, I love community and I love talking with people. I love meeting people. And so I joined a meetup group, and we're supposed to go bowling, tomorrow. This would be my first time meeting these ladies and whatever. However, that's already set in the calendar, but it's not allowing something to take precedent over that. You know what I mean? You already set it in the calendar. It's already a go with it. you know, and everything else just has to wait, because if you allow yourself to let that go, so I'm a firm believer in what should I call it? Once you do something the first time, and it's almost like the atmosphere or the universe feels, sees that. You do something the first time, so if I let that event go the first time, then next thing you know, it's like every time I try to go and schedule an event, I'm going to continually to let it go. It's almost like you have to say, no, this is staying on my calendar. This is what I'm going to do. I prepared for it and I'm going to do it. Because to me, it kind of lets the atmosphere of know that, okay, she's made some plans. Nothing is going to interrupt that. So you do have to set boundaries, even with your calendar. This is another one that I think a lot of times we don't always utilize using I statements.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Instead of you make me, no, I need, because this is putting me first. This is what I need. And I need you to understand, what I need,
Yeah.
So it's those things, and scheduling no meeting. Now, my boss does this, and I probably shouldn't say that. But I do it too. Putting no meeting blocks on your calendar. You're thinking I'm in a meeting, but I'm actually, de-stressing and getting some much needed things done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because when people look at your calendar, it's like, oh, you got this. Oh, you're available. No, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
So
otherwise they'll fill it up. If you don't speak for yourself and communicate that, someone else will fill it up.
Yes. And they'll be happy to fill it up because,
Absolutely.
and you being the person that you are, you will continue to allow it. Okay, well, next time. Well, next time. Well, next time. No, this time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. I thank you so much for that. And I think this really connects also to taking care of our emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. If we don't take the time to prioritize our wellness and put these things in our calendar, those connections will become obvious and all those parts of our health will suffer. The stressors will impact us physically. The being tired, the being, it will affect how we show up for people. So talk to me about your journey with that and what you've learned about that.
Well, so I keep an emotional journal. So I jot down one feeling and one gratitude. So this is how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling great about this, or this. But I'm feeling good about this, or I'm thankful for this, and this. So just trying to balance that emotional, that emotional thinking, because if I let my mind take control like it wants to, it's going to push every negative thing to the front of the line, and every good thing, I'll just put that back there. So there's an emotional balance that has to happen between this isn't great, but this is what's good. And me and you talked about this one time before, and I always say this, what you said about, your therapist and what my dental hygienist told me. If we don't celebrate the small victories, we won't celebrate anything at all, So it's coupling the win with what's not so great. And, whatever.
But you allow space for both of those things. I think that's so important. You are not trying to shove anything aside. You are allowing space for it all.
Yes. I think I spent so much time or so much of my life just pushing the stuff that I didn't want to deal with under the rug and putting on this, hi.
Yeah.
This face, but not really dealing with the root of the issue. And I think when it comes to emotional health, I think that's one of the number one things that we need to do. I'm gonna be honest, some of us are jacked up, and some, and let's be honest, most of that came from childhood, probably,
Absolutely. And we've never been taught how to process it or move through it. We've been told, that's right. No, that's not okay. It's not okay to be angry. It's not okay to be mad. Yeah.
Yes.
And so we just stuffed it.
That's right. Or this, well, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Yeah. If that's not an emotional killer.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to stay in a box. So
yeah, and this facade, and you put on a mask, and this facade of what and not being allowed to be truthful about that.
Yes, because we weren't allowed. So then when we get older and we get into relationships and we move into jobs and we move into these other spaces, we don't know how to control those emotions because we never, we're still holding them in the box and we're snapping at people or looking at people crazy because they know how to deal with their emotions. They're expressing their emotions, and we come from a background where that was shunned, that was frowned upon. And so therapy, I always tell people Jesus and therapy go together because you have the Christians that believe that no, God he's everything. And don't get me wrong, he is. But why would he make therapists if we didn't want us to go?
He gifted people with those gifts to help us with that. He sends all kinds of messengers. It's like being out on the ocean and the helicopter comes and the ship comes and the person sits there in the boat and says, God, why didn't you save me? And he's like, I sent the ship. I sent the helicopter. I sent the therapist.
I know. You didn't go to anyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love that story. I absolutely love that story because it just goes to show God is not a one-all for all. He is, but he also the reason why he created people and doctors and lawyers and therapists and and all these things. So people with degrees, so they can help. People have to deal with the emotional. I think once they deal with the emotional things, once they come out of denial, and once they really get help, then you can move forward into life and move into the purposes, your goals, your visions, into purpose of what you're supposed to be. Then you'll realize that there's so much more to life than that box that you were in, So it opens up a brand new world.
It does, but you got to unpack that stuff first and learn how to move through and process it and heal from it. That's such an important piece. I know exactly what you mean. I literally got grounded my freshman year of high school when I thought I was helping. I went and talked to a high school administrator that was a friend of the family's, but was a trusted friend. And I went to him and I said, this is going on in my family and I don't know how to help, but I feel like I don't know what to do. I'm feeling kind of stuck. And so he thought he was helping by going back and talking to my dad. I'm like, Melissa was so mature. She came to me and she really wants to help, but she doesn't know how to. I got grounded for 2 weeks for talking to somebody outside of my home about what was happening in our home. And so it was like, all right, that's off the table. But it was just a generational and a very unhealthy family narrative and literally that what you said earlier, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Literally, I can't even tell you how many times I heard that, and then literally got in trouble for it. And so that does not set you up well for being able to feeling safe, your nervous system feeling safe, because you learn how to live in this hypervigilant protective state. And it's not until your nervous system finally feels safe that you're allowed to even open the door to all that you've stopped.
Yes, which is crazy. But it's like you said, you have to unpack that stuff. Nobody is unpacking anything. There's a big caboose behind you of issues, but you're trying to go forward on a golden road. You're not going to really enjoy it because the first time somebody says something that triggers you, it all blows. Looks at you crazy. Yeah. And it's no telling how you're going to react or respond.
That's just it.
Yeah. You got to unpack, like you said.
Yeah.
Unpack.
Yeah. And we'll get back to that a little bit later, but this really goes nicely into unpacking this. And getting to know who we are allows us to show up unapologetically, allows us to show up without apologizing for taking up space in a room, knowing our voices deserve to be seen, known, and heard. And then when we discover that within us, we want to share it with others too. And I feel like so much of what you're doing with your podcast is allowing that. It's inviting those conversations. It's allowing that discourse. So talk to me about your road in deciding that was a way you could really show up in this space, not only apologetically for yourself, but unapologetically for other women as well.
Yes, I think I've always had this mindset about, and I'm gonna be honest. The Bible tells us to do this: do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. Now, watch this. It don't necessarily mean that they will, but I feel like I have a responsibility, and so because I want people to feel safe, because when I was growing up, I didn't feel safe. I was in a house that wasn't safe. I couldn't talk or share or, express or whatever. And I talked about this on the podcast yesterday. I dumbed myself down so much. You did it.
And your Instagram reel on that was so good.
I'm like, I dumbed myself down so much until I felt like I didn't have a voice. But something happened, and I might be a late bloomer with this. When I turned 30, it was like, oh my gosh, like this light bulb went off. And then most of that, I will say, was attributed to a song by India Ari, I Choose.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Honey, when I heard that song, I was like, this is my coming out moment. But little things began to change. I began to be like, okay, I'm just going to say this. This is how I feel, and this is what it's going to be. Now, I went through some hard roads with that because I came off and said things, especially to my mother, and God rest her soul, that, I probably shouldn't have said, but it was things that was in me that I was never able to express or to get out. So going into this road of helping women and being a safe space for people came from childhood, because I did not have that. And my mom now, she always told us, I'm not only your mother, I'm your friend. So I knew that I could go to her and I could talk to her about certain things. But my mom had a very traumatic childhood as well. And so some things I knew that she would not understand.
Sure.
I seen her. Yes, I seen her go through some things. And she went through a lot. She has she's not here to tell her story, but I'm here and I can tell her story. But it's like, she went through so much as a child. She had some childhood traumas. So while she was trying to be the mom to us that her mom wasn't to her, the people in her life wasn't to her, she still had some things going on. But so moving forward was more of, I want women to feel safe. I want people to feel safe. It came from church. People started putting me over things, Sunday school or, singles ministries and stuff like that. And I use those platforms to kind of, hey, let's get women together. Let's talk. The first thing I did was, it was a little thing called Cupcakes, Cookies, and Conversations.
I love that.
Where, we would have cupcakes and cookies, of course, at the meetings, but you could bring your conversations. And I had signs, and I thank God because He gave me the idea for it all. Signs put up: this is a safe space. This is a judgment-free zone. This is, creating that space for people to come in to where they feel comfortable and they can talk. I realized that, for whatever reason, God gave me a voice, which was almost shut down when I was a child, because my stepfather did not like the way I talked. He thought I talked too proper. And I'm going to just say it and put it out there. He thought I talked too white. And because of that, properness, he would make my mom tell her to shut up, tell her she can't talk. Why is she speaking like that? He would want her to beat it out of me. And I'm getting emotional now just thinking about it. But my voice almost shut down. I want to be the space where women can go where their voice can't be shut down. I don't care what color you are, who you are, what background you came from. You have a voice, and you should be able to use it in a safe space where you feel, comfortable. And so, God blessed me to start doing YouTube, and I just started doing things that, whatever he said, things that I was going through, and whatever. Then there was blogging. Then the podcast came, Matters of the Heart with Roshonda, because everything is coming from the heart, and just, wanted to share some things. And then there's the Girlfriend's Girlfriend podcast, where it is I'm a personal development coach. So we talk about issues and things that I feel like would be shared in the conversations with your girlfriends, like the compliments, and things of that nature. And so those are the platforms that I have, and I just try to use them, to the best of my ability as God leads, to kind of help encourage and inspire the next woman or man. May have some men listen to the podcast, but mostly the next woman, the little girls that's in women now that's, afraid to say something or afraid to move forward, she's still being, who still has chains on her hands and her feet from childhood. That childhood is over. You're 35 years old now, and so it's in those types of things and having those types of conversations that I love. But that was the journey to that. It started at 18 and it just never stopped.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, there's so much wisdom and so many things you shared and harsh realities. But what I love about women and what I love about our stories so many times is we come to a point where we understand what's getting in our way and we address that. And then it's like, wait a minute. Not only can I support myself in this, but I can use this information and what I've learned to support other women too, and bring them along with me, because this is how we make change. Yes. This is how we change narratives. We listen to each other's stories. We let people know it's a judgment-free zone, that it's a safe space, that we're going to be curious rather than judgmental. We're going to show up in love and curiosity. And I think that's so much, and that's exactly what you've done. And so thank you for that. And it really informs, I think you've already defined this, your why and your values and what you do. And so talk to about that kind of, you knew at 18, people seem to have a sense that I'm a safe space. And so talk to me about that transition of like, and then you hit 30, and I wanted to commend you. 30 is pretty darn good. I was 50 before I got the full message.
Wow.
So, I mean, I made like steps here and there, but I didn't fully dive in and fully get it until I hit the wall at 50. So you're 20 years ahead of me. So good on you. But you take that information and you're like, wait a minute. I now understand what my why is and what my values are and how that informs how I want to show up in the world.
Yes. I, like I said, at 18, it didn't have a name. I honestly didn't understand what it was. I'm gonna be honest. I was trying to get friends, but, people didn't want to be my friend as much as they wanted my advice. As much as they wanted, me to listen to them and whatnot. So yeah, I think from 18 to 30, it was still trying to figure it out, or having people to say, oh, there's just something about you. I don't know what it is. And, whatever, but it made me feel weird because I'm like, I don't know what's happening. What's going on? How come I can't retain friends? I can, when they want something, I'm here, but, it's kind of like the other way when they feel good and they move on. So it was still trying to figure out who I was, because I had a lot of self-esteem issues,
Well, yeah, and protecting yourself from those that just wanted something from you.
Yes, yes. And it was hard. I found myself getting into, some situations and situation friendships with people that didn't want me, didn't care for me, but they cared for what I could offer, even if that was a listening ear, even if that, was just having somebody they could just, and this is just coming to me now. I was home to those folks. I was home. You know how you travel away, when you go off to college and whatever, and you travel away, you might travel to California, you from a little town in Kentucky, and whatever. But it doesn't matter what goes on in California, the fun that you're having, the pitfalls, the ups, the downs, whatever, you can always come back home, right? In some cases, some people can. So for me, in that space, I was home. And so when people went away or they came back, I was always there. I was always, still in place. It took some time to figure that out. But by the time I got to 30, I was still trying to figure myself out. I was still trying to, some things was clicking, but then I was still trying to gain friends and and then finally it's just like, you know what, I'm tired, just let me, whatever this is, just let me embrace it. Just let me, people talked about me. People, as far as, well, gosh, you just, started, not talked about me in a bad way, but it's almost like, oh, here come the counselor. Oh, here come Young to fix my life. Or here come, because I felt like I always had something to say. And it wasn't, I wasn't trying to come down on people, but it's like,
right.
You should use a little wisdom, when so I think I kind of, drew some people away with that too, but,
but I think too, but you learned though, too, I think that's such an important piece. You learned at some point of like, I need space for me to feel at home too. It's not just about me being home to someone. Who's home for me? So,
yes.
Talk to me about finding that.
So finding home for me, it came at the price of where I had to just let toxicity go. Toxic people, toxic environments, toxic things that they really weren't serving me. Toxic relationships, they really weren't serving me. I just had them there because I just wanted to feel something. I just wanted to have a friend. I want to go out too with the girls, I want a relationship, and so, but these things weren't serving me. And so finally, and I'd almost hate to say this, but finally, late 23, I just decided, okay, girl, just let it all go. I had to shut some people out. I had to change my number. Because these people were grabbing, they were toxic, and I knew that. And so I had to you have to live for you. I had to get away from certain environments, get away from certain, communities and things of that nature, just so I could find me, just so I can get back to hearing my voice. What is it that I really want? Because in most of these things, my identity was tied up into all that toxicity. I didn't even know who I was because I'm thinking I'm a part of this and I'm not. That's not me. I don't even think like that. So why am I a part of it? So it took some time. And I think the older we get, we're still going to go through certain cycles with certain things or whatever. But so that's when I realized that you really have to go get your home. You have to be home for you. You have to be your own saving grace. You have to, you should come first. You should value you. And that's what happened. So,
yeah. Yeah. And I would say that's the point where you really started living out of your own expectations instead of other people's expectations. You were defining that now. You made that shift. You saw your own value. And I love what you said, but you found home in you. When you can find home in you, that's when you know you're operating from a healthy place. You don't need someone else to affirm you or define you because you found that safe space in you.
Yes. And it's safe and I love it. And it, don't get me wrong, it's lonely sometimes because it's like, but at the same time, I have, this is me and I'm happy with it. So
yeah. I think that's, I think it, and I think sometimes we go along for so long and we don't even realize we're living out of someone else's expectations until we do. And then once we do, it's like, oh, there's no going back. No. I know what I know now. And this is how I'm going to operate moving forward.
Yes. I had to break off a really special friendship, just coming into this new year because of that. And I had to, bring up my own faults because, sometimes I had these moments in my life where I ghosted people. I would be there and then next thing you know, you look up and I ain't even there no more. And I realized that I had did this a couple of times in our friendship. And then, but when we would come back together, it was like nothing, like I never left, it never went away and whatever. But it was just something about this last time where I felt like I was needed to talk about this, and this, and something that was very important to them. And then it was like after July, crickets, nothing for like 6 months, no explanation, no whatever. But then when I reached out, then there was this, oh, I'm glad you reached out. I was just thinking about you. Hey, can you tell me how can I do such and such? I know we talked about it before. And I'm like, am I being used or, and whatever. I decided at that moment that I just need to let it go. Just let it go. Just, and whatnot. And it hurt. But at the same time, I felt really good about it and I'm at peace about it. And so it's,
Well, I think when you're honoring you, when you make a deal with yourself, I'm no longer going to abandon myself. Then despite what's going on around you, there is an inner peace that comes with that when you're honoring you.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like a good sign too. If it brings you peace. So if you feel peace, I know they say that about when you buying a car. If you can go home, you just bought a car and you go home and you lay down and you can sleep at night. Yeah. That car will bring you peace. But if you go home and you still trying to figure out them numbers out, it's not going to be a good 5 years.
No, it's not. That payment's going to feel like a barrel around your neck every month. Oh my gosh, that's such a good analogy. Oh my gosh, so true. Oh my gosh, so true. I love that. All right. Accepting the layered aspects of ourselves, all the parts and pieces that make up who we are, and getting to that place of curiosity rather than judgment, and being able to, you don't have to love it, but you can acknowledge it and be like, okay, I don't love that I made that decision at that time, but I see why I did that. And so I can give myself grace for that, given the scenario I was in and the influences that were in my life, those kinds of things. Talk to me about your layers journey.
So for me, the layers, with the mind, body, and the soul, it's kind of like what you said. I'm the type of person where I will beat myself up because I did something or I said something or whatever. And I'm like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Oh my gosh. It's like it'll take me days to kind of just get over the initial. But you said the most important thing, giving yourself grace and realizing that you're not perfect. When it comes to my body, I'm not always Like, why did I eat that today? I know that I shouldn't have ate that. I know, what I'm trying to do with my body. I know I'm trying to get on this health journey. And I beat myself up about that, but it's giving yourself grace, but it's also learning from those things.
Yes.
And realizing that, hey, okay, so I ate 5 pieces of cake. Shouldn't have done it, but I did.
Yeah.
So it's okay. So, but the thing is, what triggered me to go into that tirade of eating 5 pieces of cake?
Yeah.
What triggered me into, thinking like that? What triggered, it's identifying the triggers.
Yeah.
So then that way I can make sure that the next time something like that happens, I do it a different way. Or I'm like, okay, I remember this. You ate those 5 pieces of cake because of this, this, and this. You can't allow your emotions to get that bad. 1 piece of cake, okay, but 5, no. So, it's just kind of, so for me, just identifying or embracing those layers is giving myself grace, but also identifying the triggers that got me there and what I can do moving forward. So we won't keep going over that trigger or have that same issue, but we can move forward and, into something else.
Well, that acknowledgement piece is so important because you can't move forward in a healthier way for yourself without the acknowledgement or, that's where that curiosity part comes in.
Yes.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was so good. All right. In living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, which is what you have unfolded so beautifully today as we've talked through your journey with this. Talk to me about how that's impacted your relationship with yourself as well as your relationship with others.
So, living out F.E.E.L, it helps you show up more. Like I said I don't know if I said this in the beginning, but being more present, patient, and even playful. I think sometimes we take ourselves too serious. We can be too serious, but it's just letting your hair down a little bit, and just laughing or, just not taking yourself too serious and things. So for me, that's what it is. It's being present. Because I can't tell you that there have been some times where I haven't always been present. And I'm talking about not just physically, but I'm talking about being present mentally. But it's being present because when we can take note of what's really happening. You know how some things, it's like, something happened, but you don't really remember what happened. Maybe you was thinking about something else. Kind of like when you're in a boring meeting and my mind is all over the
and you
place.
just checked out.
I done checked out. I really don't know what you're talking about or what you said. And please don't call my name. But
oh my gosh.
So it's being present, but it's also being patient. Patient with myself, patient with others, and whatnot. And like I said, just being playful and not just taking yourself so serious.
Yeah. I love that you brought up the playful piece. We underestimate the power of play. We played as children, and then at some point we were told or decided that it wasn't okay to play anymore. And we lost that. And it's such an important piece. That came up with my therapist a few years ago. She was like, "What are you doing for fun this weekend?" And she goes, "And I don't mean what you're doing for fun because you've identified the 5 ways it's good for your dopamine levels and hormones. What are you doing for fun just for fun?" And I'm like, "I don't think I know how to do that." And she's like, "I want you to learn how or relearn how." She's like, "You used to know how to do that." And it was such a good reminder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being playful, having, just having fun. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
So that's, like you said, that's very important. But I think, like you said too, that we've forgotten that.
Yeah.
Lost it.
Yeah, bringing that back in again. So good. All right. We are down to the rapid fire. Name 5 activities that nourish you.
Ooh, so I mentioned this earlier. So my puzzles,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah, I
word
love
game, and yes, and whatever, and winning at them.
that.
I would say so that a solo date, like I've gone on some solo dates, and whatever, journaling is my thing. So that brings me nourishment, of course. Cloud watching.
Yeah.
I love the sun, when it's like about to go down, and the sky just looks so beautiful and so
Yeah.
calming. And so that's what does it. Meditation music, listening to, sometimes I don't always want to hear words, but it's
Yeah.
just the soothing sounds of just the music itself. So that whether that's classical, whether that's, the little water in the back with the Zen, whatever.
Yeah.
I love things like that. And I need to do this more, but walking is a good stress release. So
Yeah.
those are my 5 activities that helps me, that nourishes me, and that kind of keeps me calm and peaceful.
Yeah. Good. I love that. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Oh gosh. Empowered.
Mm.
I've said this before. Present. That's important. Peaceful. Connected. And we talked about this: playful, joyful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Yeah. It's, you can't underestimate the power of joy. And I think we're living in a time where it's really important not to lose that. We need those moments of joy to fill our cups. And I've repeated this a lot over the last couple of weeks. And it's a quote that came from someone. I think it was Audre Lorde. I could be wrong on that, so I don't want to put that in stone, but joy as an act of resistance, because powers that be want to steal our joy and not and make us feel like the world is too chaotic to be joyful. No, we have to find ways to capture that, because that's part of our health journey. And that's how we fill our cups, so we can show up every day the way we want to.
Exactly. And it's to me, one of the most important parts of your health journey.
Yeah.
So yes, to me, it's kind of like that foundation.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yes.
Oh, so good. I know. I love that. That's great. Roshonda, tell people where they can find you and follow you. And this will also be on our website at embracinglayers.com on the resources page. But let people know right now how they can find you, follow you, listen to you.
Well, I'm on Instagram at Just Some Inspiration. That's JUSTSUM. Inspiration, the number 2, you. I'm on TikTok at Inspo with Ro. I'm on YouTube. Was it Inspirations with Roshonda? But that link is also at Inspo with Ro. I'm on Facebook. I have pages. Of course, I have a personal page, Roshonda Blackmon, but I have pages like for the podcast and things of that nature. Matters of the Heart with Roshonda, the Girlfriend's Girlfriend, which can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever your favorite music and podcast stations reside. That's where those podcasts, will be. So. Yeah. Right. If you want to read something old, I stopped blogging in 2020, but there's just some inspiration.com. So you can look up the search button and just stuff in there that you can read.
I love that. All right. Well, good. We'll have all of that will be on our website. And any last thoughts you want to leave with our listeners today?
Last thoughts. I would say be authentically you, because there's only one you. There's nobody else. And I said this on the podcast, the world doesn't need a copy. They need you. So show up as your most authentic self. Be you. And what you'll find out is that you'll discover new things about yourself. Those layers will start coming out. You'll find out things about yourself that you probably never knew, but it'll never come out if you don't be authentically you. So forget the copies. Just be you and just be yourself and show up as you. That's what the world needs. So.
Yeah. What a great way to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate this so much. Listeners, you've got it. Show up as your authentic self. Be you. We need you as you are, as you were created to be. Thanks so much for being with us. Take good care, and we'll see you next time here on the F.E.E.L Podcast. Hello, and thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of the F.E.E.L Podcast. If you would like more information on how you can apply these talking points that I share with our guests in each episode to your own life, really utilize this F.E.E.L framework, go to embracinglayers.com, fill out our contact form, and let's set up a free 30-minute consultation to talk about how you can start living your most authentic, organic, healthy, F.E.E.L-fueled life. Thanks again for being with us today. We'll be back to you soon with another episode here on the F.E.E.L Podcast.